Okay, welcome back. We shut down there for a minute to increase the signal a little bit. I was joking that the government shut us down, and now Terry's probably going to say that was fake news.
Yeah.
But the internet trolls got us. We'd be there for a minute. But welcome back. If you can join us.
Yes.
So we were going through some of the questions from the feed earlier. Matthew Young from CSS News asked, "What's been the biggest surprise you've had so far being mayor?"
Well, there's some folks that think that stuff should happen overnight. Like the roads, for instance. It keeps coming up. The roads is very important to many folks. So there's been some socioeconomic issues that we have going on with many different individuals that that have issues, and that we try to help with, whether it be food, connect them to the right folks to get food, whether it be their power bill, whether it be they need the grass cut, on a private property that somebody's not there, or the owner does not live there, and they want us to make us cut it. But really and truly, it's a way that we have to go about doing that. As far as contacting the owner of the actual residence, some people think that it's our responsibility because it looks bad. Yeah, it looks bad, and yeah, I want to cut it. I'm telling you, if it's an area that needs to be cleaned up, I want to clean it up. And we will, depending upon who's the owner, or if we can, or we have access to it, and if we have the manpower to do it at that particular time. There's a lot of things that have been done. Areas have been cut down, and due to some issues that we've had in those areas. So we've cut down some trees, or I guess you would call them little trees, or and cleaned up certain areas to make sure that it looks good. Nobody wants to see blight, in our community. So we're working on that heavily, trying to do what we can, when we can, however we can. So.
Okay, great. Your Councilwoman Crystal Suggs also commented on here. She said, right over there.
Yeah.
So her comment on this was, there are so many levels to unity in the community. We have a lot of work to do. I'm excited about the progress. # we are against it.
Right.
So what's your response to that?
Councilwoman Crystal Suggs is very, very motivated. She wants to see our community, just like all of us do, full progress. And there is a lot of work to do. We have to, be on one accord here. We have to be able to work together. We have to change our mindset on the way that we respond to certain things, and the way that we work, the way that we do the many things that we're doing in our community. So I think that there is a lot of work to do, but I know that we can get there so long as we continue to work together. So, yeah.
Talk a little about the council dynamics. Have the council members who've been on the board for a term or two been helpful to the new members coming on board?
Very much so. Very helpful. Everybody is on the same note. I would like to say on the same sheet of music for the most part. We work together. We talk often. We talk often about the things that we can do to change or to make it better for our city. So I think that's a really, really good thing, because you have to have with that continuity, between us, be able to talk and get things done. So yeah.
Okay. Talk to us about the former Woodman Center, which is now, I saw basically they were calling it the Kinston Community Center. Actually, that's not the official new name yet, but that's just what the Facebook page changed over to. They took the name Woodman off yesterday, and they have kind of a new city logo up there. So just talk to us kind of about the process and the vote that happened more than 45 days ago.
Right. That process was a long process, but we got it done, and I feel that we made the right decision. We're moving forward. We want to make it better than what it what it is, because you got to operate the correct way. So operational plan to make it even better. So we're looking at how we can do that.
I mean, you're looking at getting help from the UNC school government to do a business plan.
Well, that is a possibility.
Okay, I heard there were talks going on about that, which I think everyone would be happy with that. I don't think there would be any complaints.
Right, absolutely.
Bringing in some of the best people in the state to come in and help out.
Especially UNC School of Government. I love those guys over here. So, go Tar Heels, by the way. So, turn it out real quick. But yes, that operating plan is what we we look at, because we want to succeed, of course, and we will succeed so long as we stay on the right sheet of music, and everybody be just fine, you know. So yeah, changing over the name, Kinston Community Center at this present moment. May or may not change, but right now we had to get it changed because of the time allotted for us to have the women stuff taken off the facility. So we had to do that in accordance to you know, the legalities that we have in place. So, but yeah, that's a good thing.
I mean, that was a very hot topic for a long.
It was.
I mean, it was a short period of time that we went through all that stuff, but it was
Right.
very hot, and there was a lot of commentary and opinions about it. And it seems like that's a lot settled down in the
Right.
days since. Have you felt that way, or have you gotten a lot of feedback
Right.
still?
It's settled down. You know, it's settled down. Once people are informed and they know what's going on, or keeping people informed is the key. You know, you have to keep them informed about what's going on, and once they're informed about it, then you know, then it's out there, and then there's no question, so to speak, and we can answer all the questions that they have, and then people feel more comfortable with you know what's going on. So.
Great. Talk to us a little bit about economic development in the city of Kinston. I know Leon Steele was commenting on the feed earlier, and hope he's on this new one again. You know, for Pride of Kinston, which is now under city auspices to a degree, and you're working together more. You know, the county level with Mark Pope going up to another county, there's going to be a vacancy there, but I'm sure we'll look at that filled soon. So, you're really focusing on retail development in Kinston. I know you have retail strategies. Is that the consultant that you guys
that we used in the past? Yes.
And you guys re-up that?
We haven't not yet.
Okay.
You know, I don't know if we are.
Okay. So talk to us about economic development, just kind of from the city's perspective of what you're seeing, what you'd like to see. I know it takes years.
Right.
Something you do now, we might not have to see for 5 years down the line, which is hard. That's that roads thing.
Right.
But what's your thoughts on it?
So we have there's a lot of talking, communicating going on about how we want the city to look. How can we draw people to our city? Leon Steele, a great guy down at the Pride, is giving some great input.
He's okay.
So,
Just kidding.
Well, still, I didn't say that. This is Chris. So, but I think he's a good guy, and he's motivated. I mean, he's dedicated to the cause of seeing our city grow, the downtown area for sure. He has some great ideas. So we hope to see some of those ideas come into fruition for sure. We're definitely working on it, trying to get a plan to figure out how we can get it done. All right, still, so we're working. All right, so I just want to let you know that. but yeah, there are some things that we're looking at now, and I can't say what will happen and when, but I do see some great things happening in our city.
So if you and I, just we're out of the job and we had some capital, we were going to start a business in Kinston, retail-wise. What kind of business do you think we should start?
A retail business where, it sells probably some clothes.
Okay. I mean, you're better dressed than I am at all times.
So probably some retail. We can get some clothing from.
I want a donut shop.
Well, that'd be fine as well.
Can we do donuts and clothes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
We have to be on the job first. Let's keep our jobs to the moment.
Right.
So something else that came up in discussions in the newsroom yesterday before setting this up was there's been talk about doing a skate park somewhere in Kinston. I don't know much about skate parks, but what are you hearing, and what do you think is going to happen with the skate park?
I'm not exactly sure. I believe there was some conversation.
Are you a skater?
Have
you skated?
You don't want to see me on inline, skates. Now, four wheels, I can do a little something on four wheels.
Okay.
But I can't do the inline skating.
Was there ever a roller rink in Kinston?
Yes, skating rink, the Galaxy Sports.
Okay.
Out there, there's a skating rink now. It's still there.
Okay.
And I like it, and that's where I skated when I was younger.
Well, next time we're on skates.
Yeah.
Next quarter. Leon out there too.
That's gonna be good. I can tell you that much. So
sorry, skate park.
But then people will be out of work because they'll be broke limbs and stuff like that from falling, and but
padding.
Okay.
The insurance people will be happy.
Yeah, they will be. They will be. So, but the skate park, I think it's a good deal. The thing is how can we get it done? I would love to see it happen. Because there's a lot of kids that like to skate.
So
now,
what's the status of it now? Just people are asking for one. So I imagine the city. I mean, someone needs to take charge of it.
Right. Absolutely.
The city could either donate land and/or some could purchase land from the city if it's existing. And if there's a good, is there a good location that you can think of right now?
See, there was talk. I'm not exactly
you
sure.
want near like a park.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
Yeah, so it would probably have to be like kind of developed. You know what I'm saying? Somewhere. Don't know how to get the input of those that like to skate. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's like I'll have to get their input. And I think they were promised something in the past, I believe, before I was elected, and I don't think it happened. So that's something that we probably need to take a look at and figure out how we can get done. Yeah, so.
Okay. A little off topic from that right now. I have a question from Carlene Braxton about the police department taking part-time work using public supplied vehicles. Who pays for the gas used when they're not working off duty? I will say in other cities I've worked in, they have programs where law enforcement can take the cars and take them. I think it was in Jacksonville itself that they had vehicles and they could take it as far as they want, like to the county line and park it if a business agreed to park it there. Right. But then as soon as they got in the car from their home, they were on duty. Right. So they didn't have that drive time of I have 30 more minutes to get to work. As soon as they got to their car at the county line in Swansboro, they were on the clock. Right. Of course, there's huge expenses with gas at any time for public utilities, but you got to do it. So how does that work to your knowledge within Kinston?
So from my knowledge, and I don't really know how the details now because things change. I know that some law enforcement officers were actually paying a certain amount of money to actually take their car home at one point in time. Okay. So I don't know if that's still going on or not. I know that the overwhelming majority of our law enforcement officers stay within the city or not too far in the county. So, if the city may or may not be paying for the gas, which probably they are, so when they're doing off-duty work, yes, they probably are. At some point, the city is probably paying for the gas, yes, for sure. They're working off-duty. Which is I don't see that being an issue because you're right in the city, and you're doing a job, to serve and protect that individual business or whoever it is that hired them. And actually, if the city needs help while they're in service at an off-duty job, then we can pull them and actually use them on the street as well. So either way, they're subject to call in the event that we have an emergency. So I don't see that being a problem, but yes, that's how it works.
Not specifically in Kinston, but in other places I've lived, we've heard from local businesses when programs like that have happened, and half the businesses love it and want an off-duty police car parked at their business. They think it makes it look safer, it's there. It's a good thing for their business. So they see it as a service, as they're being a taxpayer. Right. So that vehicle, while it's just being parked at the police station, being parked in front of their business is a good thing. Right. And then the other half of the businesses say, it looks like my business has crime if you have a police car out front and you're scaring customers away. And then when that gets out, the other businesses say, well, fine, move it to my business. I'd be happy to have it out front. Absolutely. So that conversation, if people want to have it, it's an interesting topic, I think, at times. Yeah. Talk to us kind of about crime trends in Kinston. I personally think that it's kind of a perception issue with Kinston and Lenore County that over the years, the media in part has come to town because those stories do so well for us that there's a lot of people from other markets that will come to Kinston when there's a shooting or some crime. Right. So I think it's more of a perception thing personally than if you look at the numbers at there's more crime in Kinston than any other town per capita. Absolutely. But what's your take on it being law enforcement background?
So as I do know this city and I do know what happens as far as crime goes, just to shoot, you're entirely straight is, whoever posted or made that comment, whatever media service that was, that said that, the city of Kinston was the number, whatever number it was absolutely not true.
Those are normally like NerdWallet type surveys or they're just like pulling numbers and they do it to get their name out there, and we get into those stories because
that's what they do.
The Cherry Point Air Show was just rated the #1 air show by USA Today's.
Yeah, USA Today.
And I was that's so stupid because no one who voted has gone to any of the other air shows. Right. It's not like you're really like polling people who've been to all 10 air shows. They go to Cherry Point and they got the most votes. So it's a good thing, and they got USA Today's 10 best thing out there. But
I think I know that our city is a great city. Yes, every city has crime, of course, and as I see it, now, we have a few issues that, that are, repetitive. Core folks is not one of those, where it's, random. We know exactly who it is and who's doing the crime in whatever the particular area it is. And actually, we're doing really, really good with that here lately. Dealing with some of the crime that we have. We want to, like some violent crime things that take place, we want to make sure that we take care of those individuals that do those things. But overall, we have a great city, and yes, we do have crime. So if anybody tell you that we don't, and they'll be telling you a story, so to speak. And if you go to any other city, they'll be telling you a story if they don't have crime, because crime never stops. That's something that happens. Crime will never stop. You can slow it down, but it will never stop. And what our main goal is to put a stop to. We want to stop the violent crimes that take place in the city. So, but overall, we have a grasp on what's going on, and we are controlling that pulse. So, and we're taking care of those folks that we need to take care of. We're working together with many agencies throughout the city, state, and on the federal level. So,
there are obviously many underlying causes that can result in crime, of poverty, drugs, nothing for the youth to do. So. Apparently summer is a huge time for crime, I understand. When kids are out of school, crime rates go up. Weather can impact crime. So if you could, Kinston's not necessarily unique in that regard, but is there anything that stands out to you that plays more into crime here than maybe in our surrounding areas?
Well, what you have is you have to have some things going on as far as like some programs. You have to get kids involved. That's why we must, build up what we have so that we can get where we need to be, so we can have the facilities that we need, the programs that we need in order to keep our youth engaged. As we're doing a great job, the thing is that some choose not to do or participate in the programs. We have a great deal of talent here. Basketball, football, sports talent. So we try to. As I'm pushing those folks that are doing, basketball, even football, baseball, we push that to showcase their talent, so that we can have their mind focused on the positive things. Okay, this is what you can do. We want you to be a part of this, so that you can, have a positive track. You can do some great things. You can teach others. So we want to have some role models. We continue to push those role models. Athletics, to keep them focused. So I think that's a really great thing that we have going. As it was a NBA capital. This is we do have a lot of professional athletes that come out of the city.
It's a whole other topic for another day. That's amazing in itself.
It is.
So this is not a causation argument, but so do you see crime and the youth being kind of linked in a way of, if we can solve and get more youth involvement activity through Kinston Teens and others like that, that will ultimately help the crime perception and crime rate and all that? Not saying young people commit crimes and it's the young people's fault, but you think that's a way of attacking that issue?
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, I see what you, yes. So basically we have to get a hold of our youth and, change their mindset by having their peers to be their role models, so to speak. So like if you have somebody that's a teen, that's a role model to a teen, that's a really great thing, So by Kinston Teens, for instance, they do really good. I think that there are, some other leaders out there that are doing a great deal of work, to help with trying to mentor some of the youth that,
Well, just think about the parents every day that are raising their kids and trying to get them to do the right thing. They don't get a lot of credit, I would imagine. But.
They don't. And there sometimes some parents need a little bit of help, a little bit of guidance on how to, help them get their kid in the program, or how to help them, get them on the right track, or to show them, this is what a male figure should be doing. This is what a female figure should be doing. There's a few folks that are doing some programs to help uplift. See, what it is their self-esteem. You have to get that self-esteem up so that they can succeed. Once they care about themselves, then they can do positive things, So we want to keep them motivated, and dedicated to a great cause, versus having them focus on, if they're down in the dirt, they have low self-esteem, they don't have anybody to count on, anybody that they can look up to, then they're going to resort to doing those negative things.
Okay. Mildred Suggs posted on here and asked about senior programs. What senior programs are available for that market? I would say in the free press, we have crossword puzzles, and we have comics, and we have a lot of features that our senior citizens love to use. And if they're not in the paper, I hear about it first thing in the morning.
Right.
But do you have any comments about programs in the senior center for Kinston residents?
Right. So senior programs is something that we actually need to be looking at to make better. I think that I know of thus far, I think there's only one senior citizens club, I believe, that meets at Georgia K Battle, and I met with them about 2 or 3 times, and they're really, really good. But I think that we could do probably a better job if we can get somebody to spearhead it or come talk to me about it, or some things that we could do, because I can't spearhead everything for sure. But if you would come down and talk to me and say, hey, this is what I think we should do, or this is what, this is how we get it done, then I'll be willing to talk to you and put every resource behind you that's possible, that we possibly can, so.
Okay. Next question is from David Herring. He talks about jobs and jobs helping with the crime rate. And he asks about GDP producing new jobs. He asks about companies being hoarded with taxpayer money, which obviously you can't talk about economic development in that regard, much to my chagrin. But just kind of GDP, he says the amount of money dumped in that place is obscene for the return on investment thus far, which GDP's been around for longer than you and I have been active in this realm, and will continue to be active. So,
absolutely.
And Alan Thompson's out there now doing more and different things than have been done before. And you were at a meeting recently about some of this stuff. So, what kind of update can you give me and David and everyone else about GDP? Because it does look like it's kind of sitting out there most of the time, but I'm sure there's work going on that we don't see.
There's some behind-the-scenes things going on with GTP. Alan Thomas is a great guy. He's working really, really hard with the GTP. I believe they had 11 directors in the past. And he feels that right now is a stop to that. He's meeting with many people across the world, trying to get some insight on what is needed for them to come here to our city. The Global Transport is in the Fort Progress. I'm just gonna let you know that part. I don't know all the details at this very moment, but I can tell you that it's Fort Progress. They have a great strategic plan in place, and there's some things they're getting ready to move, and I think they're going to shape. So, so long as we keep pushing forward, we keep pushing, the great things that are going on now. Our airport is great. Let me tell you, we do touch and goes all the time. The longest runway, the second longest runway, in North Carolina. And let me tell you, Air Force One lands here. Camp Lejeune was there, or Lejeune was there. The other last week
before,
and out there doing training, and you know what? They were amazed by how
they did that about a year ago too. So clearly they like it and are coming back.
Right. So that tells you something right there by itself. We're definitely getting use out of it. Our military is using it. We're having some great things that's going to take place. So just keep your eye. Keep your eye on it. So.
And it doesn't necessarily cost the city anything for it to be out there.
No.
I assume over the years the city's provided funding in various ways to various groups. You probably have something in your budget now. I'll have to go back. Probably giving them something through one of the associations.
Right now.
But when something gets there, I mean, the argument from the other surrounding areas is always from New Bern and Carteret, and why are we paying for GDP stuff? Because we won't benefit as much as Kinston will when something comes. But when something does come to Kinston, we'll have a huge impact, obviously.
Right. So the GTP is not going to just impact the city of Kinston. It's going to impact this region. You know what I'm saying? Quality. It's going to impact the entire region. You're talking about the hub for import-export type of deal. Rail. Sea air. That type of deal. You're talking about next level type things. So GTP is a great thing, and it's going to be even greater.
Okay, this will probably be the final question for you, because I know you got things to do.
Okay.
Sean Myers asked about flooding and what's being do to prepare for the next round. A couple people asked and made comments about flooding. So obviously that's an ongoing issue here. FEMA buyouts are going through now. That's taken longer than it should have, according to many people. So, you know, if word came down next week, there's another storm approaching.
Right. What's
changed from now from 2 years ago?
Okay, so what's been happening is there's been meetings. There have been several meetings with the emergency management. We've been up in Raleigh. There's been about 3 or 4 meetings there alone. There's a strategic plan put in place. The thing is now is how to implement it and what to do, what direction to go in, how much money it's going to cost. You know, to get engineers out. Or can we slow it up? Can we change the course of the way that the water flows? So there's many different, you know, things out there that we're looking at. But the thing is how we can get it done. Will we get it done? And that's the question. So we're still talking about that, trying to get it figured out. At this point right now, we will do all that we can to slow the water up, according to what, you know, the officials were saying. So right now we are looking at it, and we're trying to figure out ways to either, you know, slow it up, deter, alter the course, and do what we can to slow the water up. So we are looking at it. The thing is this thing should have been looked at a long time ago. And I'm gonna just shoot you straight. If we would have done,
and there were plans in place a long time ago. Obviously.
If we would have had it done, or half of it done in the past, with our Army Corps engineers, there's a plan right now to simply, you know, if we were to done it, then we would be in a better shape than we are now, and you know, we wouldn't have the flooding that we're having right now. So, but that's still open for discussion. But I can tell you this. We'll have to get some funding from somewhere in order to make that happen. And if anybody have any ideas or think that we can get funding from somewhere, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'll be standing by waiting for you to talk to you about it. But I can tell you I am knee deep in it. I want to see something happen, whatever it might be.
So this was my first flood of that magnitude covering, and I was gone for the worst part of it. But I was before and after and seeing all the work. And leading up to it, I was, you know, I've been from California doing wildfires and earthquakes, and in Florida with hurricane coverage. And I was like, this seems like a lot of stuff. And I mean, it was beautiful out there. I drive down 70, and it was great. And I mean, it happened. You guys knew it was coming. You prepared for it. From the last flood to the more current flood, clearly knowing what was coming was impactful and being prepared for it. It's an act of God. There's nothing that Kinston can do to fix it. The buyouts from the last round seem to help a lot of the damage because a lot of those properties were not there anymore. So, and again, these properties we bought this time are going to help, I would imagine. But at some point, it's going to flood again. I mean, you don't realize that when you're driving in and out of Kinston during that time and trying to get to Raleigh for stuff. But I mean, Kinston's kind of in a valley in our area, which
water flows down.
Why it flooded. There was no flooding in New Bern whatsoever downriver. I mean, there's plenty of room for that water to go to, you would think, but it didn't.
Absolutely.
So it's an interesting topic, and I don't think the city can do anything to solve it in the long term, clearly.
Or change it short term at this very moment. So, but there's people looking at it, trying to figure out how we can get it done.
Well, that's great.
Right now. So.
And then I want to give a shout out here before we end to Maddie, our videographer.
Thank you, Maddie. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
She does a great job. She works for the Free Press here at Food and Spaces. She's part of this Kinston Smart Art program. So thank you to Stephen Hill for bringing these artists to town, because we get great work from that and great people. So we're glad that she's here. And
thank you very much.
Mayor, thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
And thank you so much, Chris Eagle. Appreciate you and the Kinston Free Press for coming out.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.